Hello everybody, I am Famincho, and today we're going to be talking about Made in Abyss Season 2, Episode 8, The Form the Wish Takes. So I feel like by the end of this week's episode, I truly feel like Wish and Curse are essentially interchangeable. I feel like the three sages, mainly Wazukyan, kind of manipulated the curses of the Abyss into wishes that are now granted. You know, we have these morphed bodies, these hollow bodies now, but that's celebrated. You know, in a lot of ways, that would be considered a curse. You know, and it's not here. This is something that we wanted. We chose this. This is like a divine moment. And I really, really like that aspect. I really, again, love Wazukyan in this episode, but I do think that Vueko is sort of the MVP here. There was a moment where Vueko is holding Irumyui, which is, at this point in the episode, just a blob of flesh. That moment was very powerful, hearing the heartbeat and sort of just trying to figure out what does Irumyui want, what was the purpose of this. And seeing her in that state, I thought was very emotional and very heavy, and just seeing Wazukyan just chopping up these babies like onions. They literally sound like onions. It's very disturbing, I will say that. Wazukyan is a very disturbed man, just to be able to do this so easily. This episode was full of a lot of powerful moments. There was a powerful moment with Bailoff entering the portal, or entering Irumyui, I guess I should say. This moment where he just kind of comes to terms with everything. It's like, I deserve to be punished. I deserve to be consumed, essentially, devour my soul as well as my body. And I do think that's kind of what happens here. I do think that something is lost when you enter this hollow form. We kind of, from my understanding, you know, who Bailoff is now in the present, it feels like an entirely different character. Again, we don't know fully what the passage of time looks like here. But yeah, Bailoff willingly makes that choice, and it's such an amazing moment, the animation there, when he's just kind of coming to terms with everything, and he just enters, and it's fabulous. It truly is fabulous. The moment where Vueko decides to throw herself off the cliff. I love the juxtaposition between Vueko standing on the cliffside, and then in last week's episode, we see Wazu standing there. I really, really dig that. I don't know if that was intentional, but it felt intentional, and it really, really worked. And then Wazu just reaching out to her. Like, I don't know. There was something so beautiful there. Again, very, very powerful moments, very, very beautiful moments, very heavy moments. Yeah, this episode kind of ruled. However, I do feel like that this week's episode is a bit of an exposition dump. Probably the most, like, just here's a ton of exposition that this show has ever done. I do feel like it's just kind of like tell not show. There's literally like a slideshow of all the villagers that became hollows. I kind of wish we saw that. I kind of wish that we were able to take a knee there and I wanted to fully feel the weight of that, and I do think that it kind of breezes past a few things. Again, there's a lot happening in this episode, and I definitely think it did a very good job of constructing all of these different ideas and forming them, and basically telling the audience this is everything, essentially. I do think it did a good job in the long run. I just wish that we could pump the brakes just a little bit and express these things and feel the weight of these things a little bit more. So yeah, we know what the value ooze is now. The fact that this ooze is essentially like the souls of Thapita's dead children, or children that were never even born, is so disturbing, man. It's so gross. It's so gross, yet it like makes so much sense. Like, yep, that checks out. I get that. What better way to instill value than the lost souls of the village's children? I really, really dig that. I thought that was handled really well. We know who Thapita is now. Thapita is the last child of Irumyui, and it makes so much sense. Like, I think I mentioned in last week's episode that I thought Thapita was Irumyui at some point, you know, seeing sort of the similarities between their eyes and just the way they look and speak. I truly thought that, like, oh, that's Irumyui grown up, basically, or this is what she's become, but we see that, no, that's not the case. That is Irumyui's child. And this child, the purpose of this child is basically the bringer of end times. This child is a cursed child that's supposed to bring about the destruction of this village. Really, really dig that. Again, we're handling some Greek tragedy-esque themes here, but the series has been doing it quite well. We know what the ooze is. We know what the village is. Irumyui essentially is the village. There was someone in the comments below that claimed to be an anime-only watcher and basically theorized pretty much everything that happened in this week's episode. A little bit frustrated there. Either you lied and you're not an anime-only, or you hit the nail on the head and we're just 100% right. I kind of like, as I was watching this episode, I'm like, oh, this dude was right. This dude clearly knew what was going to happen, or is just really, really smart and was just able to figure it out. I don't know how you surmise those. I don't know how that comes into your mind. But regardless of that, I definitely felt like this episode was all about answers. It was all about like, hey, this is it. You know, this is everything explained. However, there is one thing that is not explained yet. I mean, there's still a ton of things that aren't explained, but I feel like Reg is kind of the last piece of the puzzle here. In the beginning of the episode, Reg approaches Faputa to basically have her make a sacrifice for Nanachi. Like, hey, I need a part of you to get Nanachi back. And she does that very easily, essentially. She just rips her body apart and says, here, take that. Now fulfill this promise that you made. What is this promise? We don't know. So we do know what Faputa is trying to do. She, I'm assuming, is still trying to do, and that's destroy the village. Is Reg a part of that, you know? I don't think that, see, I think that there could be a beautiful moment there. I think that's a moment of a lot of anguish, and it's a very heavy moment to have Reg essentially be a tool again for destruction. Like, and I do feel like that could hurt Reg, you know, just like to be manipulated that way into just destroying or killing or defeating something. I think that could be a very great character moment for him. Going throughout this, but I do think we kind of end up in the same place as where we were in season 1 about Midi and all that stuff. I don't know. We see that when Faputa is born, emerging out of this egg, an incredible shot, by the way. She leaves the village, or I mean, what the village was at that time. We see her leave, and I'm assuming she just goes off into solitude. I guess she just meets Reg there. I guess she just meets Reg in this lair, or does she like explore the rest of the abyss? I have no idea. I don't know what's going on with Faputa. I don't know if next week's episode is like, here's the Faputa episode, here's everything that happened and how she knows Reg. How does she know Reg's name? Rico is the one that named Reg, up in Orth. So there's that aspect too. Like, there's a lot of weird things happening here. How does she know Rico? Like, there's still a ton of questions for sure. I do feel like that this episode explained a lot of what's going on. I feel like I have a deeper understanding of sort of everything that's happened throughout this season. One thing that I am a little bit confused on, though, is how willingly Waco leaves the pit in the present. When Rico initially meets her, she's like, okay, yeah, I guess we just leave. I mean, Rico did break her out, but I don't know why she would leave. Basically, again, I don't know what the passage of time looks like here. I don't know if it's been 100 years since that moment. I don't know if these baby things, the ooze is keeping her alive somehow. I don't know how old Wazukyan is and how old Bailoff is. I'm assuming there's been a good chunk of time, but it just feels a little bit weird because in this flashback, Waco's kind of there by choice in a way. It doesn't feel like she's there like, oh, I'm imprisoned and I'm gonna be stuck here for fate. This is gonna be hell. I don't really feel like that. I feel like that she kind of accepts this punishment. I feel like that she kind of accepts this reality, and she's like naming all the little dead babies, and she kind of finds solace in that. She feels like this is where she belongs in a way. At least that's the vibe that I got. That's kind of how I felt. But we see when Rico reaches her that it's like, okay, let's just leave, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what Waco is going to do next. I don't know what Waco's purpose is anymore. Is she supposed to just go back down there after all this stuff happens? Is she supposed to stop Faputa from destroying the village? Or is she supposed to help Faputa destroy the village? I have no clue. I really don't. And I really think that throughout this entire episode, flashback and in present, Waco is very much trying to find the true wish of Irumyui. What does Irumyui want out of the village and its people at this point? I feel like this wish, again, has been severely manipulated in a way that benefits, all of the people of the village and the 3 stages. But I do think that there is a way to find sort of that key thing that, like, what is the purpose here? What is the end game, essentially? I kind of think it is the destruction of the village. I kind of do believe that Faputa is the bringer of end times, and I think that is the next step. I think that's sort of the next arc. And I think that Reg is supposed to help her. You know, I do believe that as well. I think that Reg made some kind of promise to destroy this village in the future. I don't know why or how. I don't know who Reg was at that time. Was he named Reg? Again, I'm very confused on that front. I'm very excited to figure that point out. But yeah, I thought this episode really, it answered a ton of questions, but now it raised very specific questions that need to be answered. And I do feel like we're sort of entering the end game of this season. We're entering sort of the final moments of this arc. And God, I'm really enjoying it. I truly am. So yeah, I did enjoy this episode quite a bit. I think it could have slowed down a little bit, you know, took a knee here and there. There is a lot of exposition. There is a lot to go through. Ideally, I wish this was like a 2-core series, but you know, we can't always have our way. I think that definitely is like the benefit of reading the manga. Comment below, give me your thoughts on this week's episode. What is sort of the manga comparison here? Did they skip a lot of things? Was the manga a little more in depth on sort of the creation of the village and the villagers becoming hollows? Did we kind of touch base there a little bit more, or is it kind of structured that way in the manga as well? Very, very curious about that. Please, no spoilers. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's be very respectful in the comments, not just for my sake, but for anyone else that is watching this that is anime only. They want to be a part of this conversation too. I want to be a part of this conversation too. I don't want to be spoiled. You know, I don't want the risk. I think I take that risk, you know, talking about the series on YouTube, but if it can be avoided, it can be avoided. So again, let's be respectful of not just me, but all of the other viewers. And speaking of which, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed anything that I had to talk about today. Subscribe for more Made in Abyss content, other anime related and gaming related content. Hit me up on Twitch. Do what you gotta do. Until next time, party on.